I had a video that kind of popular on TikTok this week about how my husband and I have been together for over a decade and we are polyamorous. And I am not dating anybody other than my husband, if you can call being married dating. But I do feel like I practice like a polyamorous mindset in the sense that I cherish relationships beyond just that of myself and my partner. Namely, I cherish myself and I am like dating myself in a lot of ways. I pay attention to my needs. I get myself little gifts. I take myself out on dates. I care about my hobbies, passions, and interests and show up for them the way I would show up for those of a partner, if not more so. And in many ways, that like mindset has really changed how I understand like the role of your partner. Not to like fill that, but to be a collaborator in the relationship you also have with yourself. I also value my chosen family, my friendships, in what I would say is like a polyamorous way, not in the sense that we are romantic with each other, but again, that I recognize their value and hold them on par with that of my romantic partner. And I see, in fact, that we could have unique types of intimacy that are possible only through platonic relationship. And then, of course, I'm a member of a 3-parent household, and so we are always kind of living like a polyam kind of life. Even though my husband and I are not romantic with our co-parent, we are totally, strictly platonic. There is like a certain polyamorous ethos to the way we interact with each other because we're more than just like friends. We're more than, I would say, even like separated co-parents. We are cohabitating. Sorry, location change because my 3-year-old came in from outside. And if you're wondering why I'm not doing my usual record in the office, it's because my husband is using it right now for his day job. And I just thought maybe I would try a different type of vlog this week. So I'm hiding out in my kids' room. And look, all this is to say, I know our dynamic is unusual. And it often gets a lot of questions. And on that TikTok, I got a lot of questions about like, how could this work? How does your child interact with this part of your life? All this stuff. So I thought I would like just answer, I don't know, like 2 or 3 of the most common questions I get. And I'm trying to do this in like a completely no edit, stream of consciousness style like vlog, just to mix things up. And also because I just don't super have time to record and properly edit a video this week. So look, probably the number one question we get is, how do you navigate additional partners, right, as 3 parents? Like, even if my husband and I weren't polyamorous, and even if like we hadn't had other partners previously and could again, having a platonic co-parent means that there is the possibility that she could date and she could bring somebody home. And 2 out of 3 of us are children of divorce, and the third had one of their parents die at a very young age, and their parent remarried kind of too soon after that. So we all know what it's like to have step parents. And we've all known how uncomfortable and challenging it can be for children to navigate that. So we made an agreement long before we ever had children. We put in our parenting agreement, actually, a written document that we agreed upon before even starting to conceive, was that we are 3 co-parents. We are the birth parents of our child, and it is a unique relationship with that child. To welcome someone into our co-parenting circle would be a highly, it's a great level of responsibility, and they would have to be extremely committed to it. So we don't just flippantly bring people in and out of our child's life in that way, and nobody has ever even tried to enter into the realm of co-parent with our kid. But what we have talked about is like, if we were to bring home somebody who is like a partner, the first thing we need to do is bring it up to the other co-parents and talk about, who is this person to me? Where do I see this relationship going? So you have to be kind of serious already just to introduce them to the kid, or to each other, right? Probably meet each other before we even talk about introducing them to our child. We like, if it's just a friendship or, maybe like a situationship or something like that, then the rules can be a little more relaxed. But then we would make it clear, like, this is my friend, and we would not be showing like romantic affection to that person. But yeah, if somebody was to come into our lives as a type of partner, we would want to talk about it as a group first, have a parents only meeting with that person, and then probably start with introducing them as a family friend. And then if and when we felt ready, explaining to our child, like, okay, you know, this is currently one of your parents' partners, you know, they're going to be spending time together. But like, I think it would take years upon years of trust building, relationship building, communication before we would even entertain something like a live in sort of step parent role. And we really always have agreed to put our child's feelings first, even above our own romantic lives and relationships. It's actually one of like the biggest sacrifices I think our co-parent has made, because she is single and it's already really hard to date when you have kids. Imagine trying to bring somebody home when you also have two co-parents to introduce them to who are going to judge you for sure. So we do have people in our lives, like my husband has a pretty long-term partner who is not interested in living with us, you know, not interested in being a co-parent, but who has sort of taken on like an auntie role with the family, and that has been so lovely. And I love my metamor, and the relationship they have with their kid is really beautiful. But it was one that was cultivated before our child was even born, and then very intentionally and carefully built up over years, and remains something that is being built each time we all get together. So yeah, the short answer to how do you navigate potential new partners is we are extremely cautious about it, and very few people would even get to that stage, and they would have to be someone who'd be extremely patient and willing to put our child's needs first. The second question we get a lot is, as three parents, how do we navigate responsibilities around the home and like personal lives? Again, like being poly, you kind of want to have maybe a little free time to like go out and spend with other partners, or like I said, friends, chosen family that you value on the level of a partner. So something we try to do on a regular basis is have bi-monthly house meetings where we sit down and we talk about the responsibilities related to the home, domestic labor, finances, how to split things in an equitable manner, and then also how to build in a little personal time for all of us. And again, part of this like polyam mindset is understanding you don't need to have a person you're going to go on a date with to want to get out of the house once in a while, maybe even take yourself on a date, and actively encouraging each other to say like, hey, you haven't had a moment for yourself in a while. Like, why don't you take yourself out? Or can I take you out and like, let's go have fun together? Like with our platonic co-parent, I try to be proactive about doing things like for her that would feel like a partner would do, like booking her a nice massage or bringing home flowers to surprise her, like not at all with a romantic energy to them, but just to say like, you matter to me. I was thinking of you. Here's this thing. And of course, my husband and I do that for each other, and our co-parent can show up for us in lots of ways, but probably the most primary one is being on childcare. So my husband and I can go out on a date once in a while and get quality time with each other. Or one of us could go, like I could go to my friend's house for the day or even stay overnight somewhere else. And yeah, we often prefer to all be home, spending time with each other. We really like each other, but it is nice to be able to make space for our romantic lives, our friendships, and our self-care. I think the third most common question I get about being in this type of dynamic is how do you negotiate like conflict? How do you try to communicate with each other? A lot of people are like, I would love to be polyamorous, or I would love to have a co-parent, but it seems like so much work. It seems like so much work to constantly be negotiating. And it is, I would say, because every person you add to a dynamic brings a new opinion, a new way of moving in the world. Sometimes they don't all get along. So I get that. And it's not for everybody, I will say. However, I also think being in a two-person monogamous romantic relationship or two-person co-parent dynamic is really, really hard, potentially harder, because you're kind of like, I have found like when it's just me and my husband for long periods of time, or just me and my co-parent, it's very easy to get into sort of like a stuck dynamic where you fall into these roles almost without talking about it. And sometimes you can build up resentment or just like frustration with the monotony of it, or I don't know, like I just find it tricky. And then also you're always tied, right? Like the two of you have two different opinions, and like maybe one of you is slightly more of an expert on one thing or another, but oftentimes you find yourself being like at odds if you don't agree on something. The nice thing about three is there's always a tiebreaker, or somebody to think of a new way of doing things. And yes, it means more negotiation, but it also means more opportunity to get a break, more opportunity to get a different way of approaching things, more opportunity to swap in and out. Maybe if I'm like so tired of cooking and I just can't sit down and ask myself, what's for dinner? Like another day this week, I can look at one of my co-parents and say, I need you to take on dinner. And they can be like, well, I was going to go, I don't know, take our kid to the extracurriculars. And the third can say, I'll do the correct extracurriculars if you can do bath time, whatever. And we can like fluidly negotiate different roles and responsibilities. And similarly, like with polyamorous relationships, yes, it takes a lot of work and trust. I would say you need to actually have extremely high trust and communication with your partner to even entertain being like genuinely polyamorous with each other. But I also think that a lot of monogamous couples would benefit from having those types of conversations as well. Sitting down, talking explicitly about their boundaries, expectations, desires, red flags. That kind of conversation actually, I find, is so enriching for your relationship and can deepen your intimacy in a way that like I didn't even really realize was possible until I was living that life. So yeah, I would say like it is a lot of communication. There's a meme going around that the poly flag really should just be an image of a Google Calendar invite, and yet like yes, that is accurate. We live and die by the Google Calendar, and we have meeting notes and schedules and spreadsheets. But if you're the type of person who likes that kind of stuff, this kind of life is actually like really really fantastic. Because personally, I find it much harder to navigate unspoken chaos than to sit down at a regularly scheduled meeting and say, okay, we have 15 minutes to go over how the chores went this month and who can pick up a little more, who needs to do a bit less, and what chores maybe we can just start doing on a less frequent basis, or what we need to do more frequently, and just like having those direct conversations. Similarly, like between myself and my husband, it is actually like such a beautiful way to build intimacy, to talk to each other, but like, when do I feel excited to be with you? When do I feel jealous? When do I need a break? What do I get from you? What is a realistic ask to get from you? What could I get from someone else? Those kind of things have really brought us together. And that is why, like, even as I am not dating other people, I think that my polyamorous mindset continues to inform my relationship with my husband and also like all the people in my broader community. So let me know if you enjoyed this format of a vlog, like completely stream of consciousness, nonstop chatter. Because I'll do more of it. It's certainly a lot easier than recording for an hour and then editing for an hour and putting up whatever on here. And if you have any further questions, comments, or stuff you'd like me to see, like make more content about, just let me know, because I'm very happy to chat about this part of my life. And I feel like it could use a little more representation. There's actually a lot more families living like this than you think. Just most of us don't put our faces on the internet. But I guess my Leo moon, Leo rising is showing when I'm constantly showing up on here, blabbing all of my business. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.